Japan is a crowded place. With a population of around 125 million people jammed into a country about the size of California, things can get a little hectic. Factor in that about 75% of the country is mountainous, with few people living in these areas, and the urban centers can be extremely crowded. This is probably the first impression people get when visiting Japan for the first time, especially as soon as they reach their usual first destination, Tokyo. Since the end of the pandemic, tourists have been surging into the country, making many places even more crowded. But it doesn't have to be. Today we're diving into the 5 best ways to avoid tourist crowds, and crowds in general, on your trip to Japan. If you're looking to experience the authentic side of Japan without the hustle and bustle, you've come to the right place. And if it's your first time here, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon for more Japan travel tips. So, let's get started. Number 1. Explore lesser-known destinations. Now, everyone should visit the tourist hotspots of Tokyo and Kyoto at least once in their lives. But do you really need to spend your whole vacation between these two cities, as many tourists do? As the largest city in the world, Tokyo is incredibly crowded even without tourists. And Kyoto, even though it's much smaller, can seem just as bad due to the constant influx of domestic and foreign tourists alike. Unless you absolutely love the big city and energy of Tokyo, or are a real history buff about the temples of Kyoto, you will see that Japan is full of not-so-crowded hidden gems just waiting to be discovered. If you love Japanese cities and all they can offer but don't want the insane crowds of Tokyo, try some lesser-known or tourist-popular ones instead. How about getting out of the Kanto region and try the large, beautiful cities of Kobe, or Fukuoka, or Sapporo. They might still be a bit crowded, but certainly less so than Tokyo or Osaka, and you can still enjoy the same wide variety of delicious foods, museums, and cultural attractions, without quite the same number of crowds. Or even slightly smaller cities will still be interesting for city lovers. Some good examples are Takayama, Matsuyama, and Kanazawa. On a side note, I'm purposefully leaving out Hiroshima from this list. Although it's a lovely city, it's one of the most popular tourist destinations in Japan and can get very crowded. If you are into temples, shrines, and Japanese history, you definitely don't need to stay in Tokyo or Kyoto. Again, unless you are really interested in the particular histories of the temples and shrines of Kyoto, you can find great ones in just about any city in Japan. Take Nagoya, for example. The Osu Kanen Temple is a wonderful place to visit. The whole regions of Chubu and Kinki are of major historical importance, with a myriad of historical sites to visit. And shrines? You definitely don't need to go to the Fushimi Inari Shrine in Kyoto. Shrines are literally everywhere in Japan, and lots have the orange torii gates if that's what you're looking for. And most are generally much less crowded than the most famous ones in Kyoto. Well, except for New Year's Day, that is. So, to sum up number 1, if you can't stand the crowds or want a bit more relaxed vibe to your visit, perhaps do some research and explore some alternate destinations to the 2 most famous cities in Japan. Number 2. Visit popular attractions early in the morning or late in the evening. Most tourists follow a 9 to 5 schedule, so arriving at famous sightseeing spots during peak times can be extremely crowded and result in long lineups. Heading out as soon as the attractions open, or just before they close, can give you a much more peaceful experience. Most subways and trains in big cities start operating early. For example, in Tokyo, many lines start running around 5 a.m. Even the iconic Shinkansen, or bullet train, starts around 6 a.m. So make sure you check out the train line schedule for where you want to go, and you can most certainly beat the crowds, if you're motivated enough to get up so early. Also make sure to check out when whatever attraction you're looking to opens, as they can vary from place to place. Plus, if you're an avid photo taker, one bonus for arriving early or late to a location is the lighting is often perfect for great shots. Number 3. Travel during off-peak seasons. Japan is beautiful year-round, but avoiding the peak tourist months of April, May, and August can make a huge difference in crowd numbers. Cherry blossom season in late April, early May is one of the busiest and most expensive tourist seasons in Japan. And Golden Week, which is a collection of 4 national holidays at the beginning of May, shows increased domestic tourism, which drastically ramps up prices and crowding. So instead, try early spring, before the main cherry blossom season, as it offers mild temperatures and the chance to see plum blossoms, which are arguably just as beautiful as the cherry blossoms, with far less crowds. The Obon holidays in August are another time to avoid being a tourist. Many Japanese people head to their hometowns from all over Japan to gather with their families at this time. Transportation can be very backlogged and hotels hard to find or with very inflated prices. Instead, consider planning your visit for late autumn when the fall foliage is breathtaking and the weather is crisp and cool. Visiting during these less crowded times can enable you to enjoy popular attractions and seasonal beauty with perhaps fewer tourists around, making your experience more enjoyable and relaxed. Number 4. Stay in less touristy neighborhoods. Over the last 5 years or so, I'm always seeing first-time tourists to Japan thinking that they need to book hotels in Shinjuku or Shibuya in Tokyo. Unless you really want to be in the middle of crowded, noisy, and for Japan sometimes even dirty streets, why would you want to stay there? They are famous tourist areas and should be experienced at least once, but there's no need to choose hotels there. They are easily accessible by train for a visit. So, instead of booking a hotel in the heart of Tokyo, consider areas like Nakano or Kichioji, which are still conveniently located but offer a more local vibe. Or really anywhere a bit further away on the Yamanote line. Hotels are also often cheaper in these areas. In Kyoto, avoid the crowded central areas or near Kyoto Station and opt for a stay in a traditional ryokan or hotel in a quieter part of the city, such as the Arashiyama district. These areas not only provide an authentic experience but also allow you to relax and unwind away from the tourist throngs. Less touristy neighborhoods will usually give you a ton of authentic local culinary options and lots of interesting things to do and see. Number 5. Avoid the mega tourist attractions. Tokyo Skytree, Tokyo Disneyland, Tokyo Disney Sea, Team Labs, Universal Studios Japan, Ghibli Museum. Since before the pandemic, I constantly see tourists expressing these as must-do things on their schedules. As a result, all have huge lineups and many tickets are not only expensive but hard to get. So, unless you have a very specific interest in exactly what these attractions represent, you don't need to go to them. If you have only a passing interest in Disney, do you really need to go to the Disney attractions in Tokyo? Tokyo Skytree is nice, but there are other places to get exceptional views of the city. For example, Tokyo Tower, which has more cultural significance, and in my opinion is more beautiful. Universal Studios is Universal Studios. Team Labs? Somehow this attraction has become one of the most famous tourist attractions in Tokyo, and while they are great, most Japanese have never even heard of it, or them, or whatever. If you're really into their work, check their website instead and look for one of their pop-up exhibitions that they have periodically across the country. Like this one I came across in Hiroshima Prefecture a while ago. If you're a Ghibli fan, the museum in Tokyo can be really hard to get tickets to. Try the new Ghibli Park in Aichi Prefecture instead. It's still a bit complicated to get tickets, but it's definitely less crowded. Overall, Japan has so many different, exciting cultural options that will really give you a better insight into the country and its people. Big cities are great and can be lots of fun, but if that's not your thing, unless you are really into them, avoiding the mega tourist attractions will give you a much more peaceful and enjoyable experience. There you have it, my 5 best ways to avoid tourist crowds in Japan. Whether you're a first-time visitor or a seasoned traveler, these tips will help you discover the tranquil and authentic side of this amazing country. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment with your favorite tip, and don't forget to subscribe to Tidbits from Japan for more Japan travel tips and information.